plus years of business experience. He's done all of this from home, and all of this, again, all of his success has been based on a super, super simple, repeatable process, okay? And most importantly, the most important thing to remember about David, he's not a guru, okay? Honestly, guys, there's so many people out there that are focused on being a guru and driving around Lamborghinis and flexing and acting that they're really, really cool instead of actually just being really, really good at what they're doing. And he's like, does not want any, he's the opposite of an attention seeker. He's like the introverted guy that sits in the back of the party, doesn't want to talk to anybody and just wants to like play chess. Okay, that's David. Okay, now that begs the question of like, why are you sharing this for free? And we get asked this all the time when we do these events and from our students and all that. It's like, why would you share this information? It doesn't, it's so valuable. Why would you do this? And the truth is, guys, and I'll speak for myself here for a second, I've achieved a level of success. Okay, this is me at the Oval Office. This is at my original office right here, right across the street from downtown Laguna Beach, Main Beach. Okay, I took my mom to Florida. I actually bought her a house right there. I've been making $1 million a year for a long time now. And I'm not saying this to be, braggadocious with you guys, but I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've started several successful businesses. I'm the owner personally of a business doing over $100,000 per month right now. I started my first successful business at 17, and for fun, because I've been blessed to be so successful, because it truly is a blessing. I've actually been able to go and coach freshman basketball. You can see me right here. At my old high school. And, we've had a lot of success there. We've gone back to back league champs, which I'm really proud of. But I owe my success largely to one person, okay? And if you're thinking that person's David, you are absolutely right. Again, myself and everyone you guys have seen is all just copying the same repeatable process that you're about to see from David, called the Robin Hood method. Okay, so that's reason number one, is I've had so much success with it. David's had so much success with it. We want to share it with the world. And on top of that, we want to share it because, guys, quite frankly, the world is in chaos right now. Okay, this is from back in, February, March of 2020. And I mean, guys, the stock market dropped, a third in like a month. Okay, we were in scary, scary, scary times. The unemployment rate spiked. So who knows what's going to happen in the future? Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone 6 months, a year from now, right? And the point is, guys, if we can help you achieve success and security for you and your family, that means literally everything to us, okay? And quite frankly, when I talked to David originally about this, he told me something really, really interesting. He said, Spencer, when I first became a millionaire, people thought I was like Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk or Steve Jobs or like some tech, whiz guy that was just like a genius. And truthfully, Spencer, I just got started with this because I wanted to pay my bills and support my family, just like everyone else. I didn't have these huge dreams of being like a billionaire. Like I thought it'd be cool, but it wasn't anything I was in my head realistically thinking about. And so just like most people recommended and just like most people do, I followed the safe path. I went to a great college. I got great grades. I got in debt to get that degree, and I began looking for a job. And this was supposed to be my happily ever after, right? And by the way, have you guys heard some of the same advice, like go to college, get good grades, get a good paying job, go in debt if you need to for college. And this was supposed to be his happily ever after. But then he realized those promises of stability, those promises of the right path, of the safe path, well, they weren't true. They were fake promises. And a cold, hard reality hit. You fast forward a couple of years, and after his living experiences, literally everything he was making was going to debt. I mean, he was literally breaking, even if not losing money every single month, and living out of his parents' basement, basically at the time. And he became a teacher, a high school teacher, as I mentioned earlier. And literally his job was he was just getting yelled at 24/7 by parents and by admins. And then he started noticing that, teachers' pays started getting cut, and nobody's job was saved. And truthfully, guys, he realized there was never going to be a happily ever after. And the risk-free, quote-unquote, safe route was risk-free. Okay, it was a risk-free route because it took all of the risk out of it, and it guaranteed that I lost every single time. And I was told for years, just go to school, get good grades, and that would lead to the right path. But everything I did was the right way, and my reward was not the right path, not stability, but it was unlimited amounts of stress, unlimited amount of stress about bills, unlimited amounts of debt, unlimited amounts of angry teenage, kids that I was teaching, and parents and administrators and bosses just screaming at me because I could never do anything right. And I kept asking myself, when do I actually get to live? How am I going to have a family if I can barely afford to take care of myself, right? When is it my turn to enjoy life? When do I get to have some of that disposable income that I've been dreaming about since I was a kid, thinking about, getting my first, high or decently high paying job, right? And when can I stop worrying about money? And most of all, when does my hard work finally pay off? And when will I be able to actually enjoy it? And eventually, Spencer, I hit my breaking point. After putting in another extremely long week, 60 plus hours, he was pissed because one of the admins had screamed about him that his students were not passing at the correct rate. And he went in and actually looked at his students' records from the year before and realized that 2/3 of his kids were bumped up into his math class even though they had failed the previous class. And many of them asked to pass classes, and they'd only showed up 15 out of 185 school days. Literally less than 10% of the time they showed up to class. And he was being yelled at by his bosses saying, you need to pass these people anyways. And there were literally other teachers that were just putting up the answers to tests on the board just to avoid getting, fired. And he realized, he's like, this is not what I put all my work in for. I wanted to be a success. I wanted to actually help people. And my life is just spent in agony. And at that point, he realized he had a decision to make. And option A was to pretend like everything was fine and just continue living my life in agony. And he's like, Spencer, honestly, I had been doing that for so long, this no longer was even an option for me. He's like, the only path I could take was option B, which is to step up and take my life and future into my own hands. And that was it, Spencer. I was off to the races. So let me ask you guys a question. What would you guys have done in that moment? Okay, would you guys have taken option A or option B? Okay, give me a number 2. You guys would have taken option B too. Because I would have stepped up, take my life into my own hands. I'm tired of being yelled at by bosses. I'm tired of being stuck, just being held back because everything I do is incorrect. I can never do anything right, and being capped to how much money I can make. So give me a 2 if you guys would have stepped up and taken your life in your own hands too. Awesome. I'm getting a ton of 2s. Awesome, guys. Awesome. So he said, Spencer, so literally what I did, Spencer, was I went into Google and I searched how to make money, and I discovered real estate investing. And he's like, this is it. This is what I want to do. He's like, but the only problem was, Spencer, he didn't have any money. And I also didn't have any real estate experience. So I didn't know what to do. And he's like, the only option I had was, because I knew this was a path for me, is to literally spend the next 3 to 5 years struggling and saving up every single dime I could, making extra money on the weekends, like doing everything I could to make any money I can to get into real estate investing. So he said, after 5 years of struggling and saving, I finally had enough money to buy my first investment property. Literally 5 years of dealing with hell on earth, okay? And you know what? It paid off. It was a success, Spencer. It was a success, okay? And fast forward to January 2008, several years later, I owned a couple properties and I'm absolutely killing it. I'm finally experiencing that financial freedom. I'm not stressed over money. I can finally think about the long term of my life. And then, as you guys can probably guess from the date, guess what happened next? Foreclosures happened. And you fast forward to June 2008, and he had lost all of the investment properties he had bought. What took him literal 7 years to build up, within the span of 6 months, was gone. And on top of that, his personal home was now in foreclosure, and he was filing bankruptcy. And he said something that really, really struck a chord. And he said, the worst thing in life is to have tasted success and then have to go back to how you were living before. Okay, it's kind of like that quote, is it better to have loved and lost or to have never loved at all? He said, Spencer, it was horrible, okay? I had finally had that taste of freedom that I had dreamed about for literal 15, 20 years. And just before I could even enjoy it, it was gone. And truthfully, guys, what went wrong was he had a ton of properties with bad loans on them, like a lot of people did. And because he lost all those, his credit was completely destroyed. He couldn't get a loan to save his life. And then he was also chasing too many different things at once. And he had run completely out of cash. And he had made basically 20 mistakes all at the same time. And then on top of with all of the craziness that was going on at that time, he had to file bankruptcy. And he said, literally, I was a few weeks away from losing my own home and having to move back in with my parents. He's like, Spencer, honestly, it was the worst time of my life. But But then while I was going through the process of, being foreclosed on, I discovered something really kind of amazing. And he said, Spencer, I discovered that I was actually owed money from the foreclosure of one of my properties. He's like, I thought it was kind of weird. He's like, I couldn't pay the mortgage anymore, and so they foreclosed on me. But then somehow I was actually owed money when they sold it. And I was really confused about that. But then I discovered something really, really weird. Almost everyone that goes through foreclosure is owed money. Like almost everyone. And he says, Spencer, I discovered this thing, and we call it the game changer now. And basically what happened was, when your house sells at auction, at a foreclosure auction, and he's like, Spencer, it's like, let's say it sells at $100,000, and what was owed on the house was $60,000. Well, that means there's an extra $40,000 that was paid to buy the house. And the bank can only take what they're actually owed. So there's this extra $40,000, right? And this is, the extra money that's owed. The technical term here is actually a surplus fund. And all a surplus fund is extra money that is owed to someone, okay? And that money just floats around. It floats around at the court, it floats around at the state, and it waits for someone to come and reclaim their money. And he's like, I discovered this, and obviously I reclaimed my money, but I thought, that's kind of weird. Like, no one ever told me that before. And, truth is, Spencer, he's like, most people don't know. Most people don't know they're owed anything. And the only reason why I did was because I had that, 7 years of experience learning about real estate and struggling to get that first property and then finally buying several properties. And I had studied real estate so much, I kind of had heard about this before, didn't think I was ever going to go through it because I didn't want to get foreclosed on. And then when it happened, I realized I was like, holy crap, like, this is, this I'm owed money. Like, this is weird, And then he had an epiphany. He said, well, what if I helped someone else claim the money they're owed? Someone that didn't know, because most people don't, and, charged a percentage of the amount that they're owed as my fee. And so this was the original Robinhood method. This is the Robinhood method 1.0. Okay. So for an example, here's like, Spencer, I would find someone that was owed $40,000, and I would contact them and say, hey man, you're owed $40,000. I can help you recover it. I charge 40%. And they say, okay, cool. And then he would go and recover their money, and he'd walk away with $16,000, and they'd walk away with the remaining $24,000. And he said, Spencer, he says, I didn't really think this was going to work, and then I had a glimmer of hope. I found a condo that was foreclosed on kind of nearby, and it had several loans on it. And sure enough, the house went over bidding price at auction, and there was extra money. And that extra money, again, is called a surplus fund. And he helped them recover it, and it was a smaller deal. And he's like, Spencer, I made $5,000. And that $5,000 literally saved my house from being foreclosed on. And he said, it was the most amazing thing in the world. He's like, I had discovered something that had never been discovered before. And so very, very quickly, David went all in, okay? And for the next few months, he started closing as many deals as possible. And guys, this is why I'm like, you guys got to commit to implementing this as we start teaching it to you guys, okay? That's why I had you guys, commit to implementing it earlier, because when David implemented it and committed to it, everything changed for him, okay? Just like it changed for Tiffany, who received $10,000 from a deal she did with David, or Bill, who received $7,500 from a deal he did with David, okay? And fast forward, hundreds of deals later, David had complete financial freedom. Everything he had dreamed of was finally his. Okay, all that financial stress he has was completely gone, and he was easily able to make $10,000 per month, and later on, way more than that, for just his one business. Okay, and you can see here he went to Hawaii. Okay, this is David. David likes to bungee jump. I think he's crazy. Okay, just my opinion. And here's him with Bumblebee. Okay. Now again, for David, all this was possible from closing deal after deal after deal after deal after deal. And he ended up closing so many deals, he actually saved up, and instead of buying rental properties like rental houses, he actually saved up and bought a freaking 100-unit hotel building, and now still owns that to his day and is looking to even buy more. And so I'm gonna ask you guys a question. Imagine, what would your life be like with an extra $10,000 per month, okay? Would you be able to do all those things that, you've dreamed of? Maybe for you, it's not to buy a hotel, for most people it's not, okay? But it's to take care of your family and do all of those things that, as just that we dream of. It's like having no stress. That is such a blessing that, people like myself and David take for granted. And it can really be a life changer, right? And I want to make this clear. I don't want you to think this is only possible for David or for myself, okay? A few months after he started killing it with this strategy, people started asking him all the time, like, hey, how do you do this? Can you teach me? And so he started this event club where once a month he'd get up and he'd have guest speakers come in. He would speak personally and share people what he was doing to grow this. And you can see this is one of these events here. He had maybe about 100, 120 people there. And very quickly, he started getting all these people results too. Like here's Bernie, who made $24,000 profit on his first deal, absolutely killed it. Here's Maria, who got a $22,000 deal. Okay, here's Daniel, who gonna make $90,000 profit on this one deal. Okay, and it goes on and on and on. And fast forward to today, and David, myself, and this whole group of students that have followed him have refined this process to the core, absolute core of its nature, to where literally it's like just plug and play and get instant results, okay? And that is exactly what I'm gonna show you guys today, okay? So would you guys like me to show this to you? Give me a 2 right now if you guys want me to show you exactly what we're talking about step by step right now. Give me a 2, give me a 2. Awesome, guys. So again, what you guys are gonna see today are the 3 keys, and let's go ahead, let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right into key number 1, which is the simple 3-step process that we use over and over again to find and help insanely profitable Robinhood clients. Now, earlier I showed you guys the Robinhood method 1.0, and I said, well, when someone goes to foreclosure, if it sells for more than what they owed, then then they're owed money, and then yeah, we help those people. But again, that's the 1.0 version. All the Robinhood method really is finding people that are owed money and helping them reclaim it for a fee. And a lot of people think like, well, is this even really, how many people are owed money? And come to find out, this is actually a massive problem. 1 out of every 10 Americans is owed money. In fact, many of you watching right now are actually owed money, okay? And I'm gonna share with you guys how you can figure that out later, but I need you guys to commit to me. You're gonna stay on this, live class while I'm doing that, because otherwise you're gonna get distracted. You're not even gonna learn how to recover your money if you have any in the first place. So make sure you guys are staying on this as we continue to go through here. But again, 1 in 10 Americans is owed money. And there's over $50 billion floating around right now waiting to be recovered by the rightful owner. So again, this is a massive, massive, massive problem, okay? So what's the 3-step system to go out and actually help insanely profitable Robinhood clients? And step number 1 is we need to find people who are owed money, okay? How do we do that? Well, it's really, really, really simple, okay? Again, guys, I'm gonna be sharing with you guys how to do this, but please do not do it right now, okay? Follow along, just take notes. Again, I'll give you guys the checklist at the end, which will go through all this stuff anyways, but if you guys get distracted and you accidentally click off, you will not be able to get back, so please, please, please stick on and just watch the demonstration, okay? So step 1, okay, how do we find these people? Well, it's really, really simple. Okay, all we do is we search Google for your state plus the phrase unclaimed property. So for me, I live in California, as I said earlier, and so I put California unclaimed property. Okay, if you live in Texas, you'd put Texas unclaimed property. If you live in Florida, you'd put Florida unclaimed property. It's pretty simple, okay? Then step number 2 is you click on their website and you download the record. So when you search California unclaimed property, you see what comes up is this .gov website. We can click on that and we can navigate to download unclaimed property. Or we can just click right there, download unclaimed property. Okay, when you do that, you're gonna get a spreadsheet. And so you're literally going to download millions of leads, literally millions of people that are owed money. You just get their information, boom, just like that. You can see right here, this is one spreadsheet from California. California actually has 3, and each one is like 1 million people, okay? And then they have some other ones too that are like 2 or 3 million people. So there's a lot of people just in California, okay? Again, you can literally see that my spreadsheet software was not even able to open the whole thing because there was too many leads, okay? That's how big of a problem this is, okay? One spreadsheet in one state with 1 million leads per spreadsheet, okay? It's utterly ridiculous, okay? So now that we have the leads themselves of people who are actually owed money, well, what's step number 2? Step number 2 is we actually need to locate these people. We have their names, we have maybe some basic information, but we actually need to locate these people, okay? So that's also super, super simple, okay? Once we have a lead, we'll choose a lead to use. You see right here, the person's name is Christy Abe, and she lives in Sun Valley, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna search her name in what's called a skip trace site. Now, this is a skip trace site called Spokio. There's hundreds of different ones. Spokio is a really, really cheap one. I think it's like $30 a month to use, but there's also some free ones out there. But the point is you get on a skip trace site and you search her or his name, whoever it is that, or even a company. Sometimes companies are owed money, if you can believe that, okay? Anyways, so we search that person's name, And then we find the one that matches up with their information. Now, again, we saw here her name's Christy Abe, and she lives in Sun Valley. And we see right here there's 2 Christy Abes. One lives in Honolulu, probably not the right person. And the other one lived in Sun Valley. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's probably the right person. Now, at this point, you're probably wondering, well, what do we do now? We pick up the phone and we call them and we say, hey, I want to work with you. And we contact them. And so step number 3 is we ask to assist them in recovery. And this is where people start to get a little bit concerned. They're like, Spencer, I think I can do steps 1 and 2 because it's pretty easy. It takes like 5 minutes. I don't know if I can do step number 3. I've never, sold anything on the phone, and I don't know if I can do it. And I'm not like the Wolf of Wall Street. I'm not Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm not a salesman or saleswoman or salesperson, whatever you want to call it. I don't think I can do this. And I have some really good news for you. That's actually a really, really, really good thing because we're not salespeople. We're not selling anything. You're not calling them and saying, hey, buy my new, buy my car or buy a house or something like that. No. What we're doing is we're asking them if they want help in something they didn't even know that they had, right? So you're not selling anything, which is beautiful, right? So if you are a salesperson, you can use that experience. But if you are not, it's actually a good thing. You don't want to come on here all salesy. You do not want to be a pushy salesman. The last thing we want to do is be a pushy salesperson. No one likes being talked to like that, and nobody likes acting like a pushy salesperson. It's not fun, okay? So that's not what we want, okay? In fact, what we want to do is we don't want to be a salesperson at all, okay? Why? Because we aren't selling anything. Again, guys, we're just calling and saying, hey, you're owed some money, I can help you. Okay, that's it. That's the conversation. Okay, so instead, we want to simply build a relationship. Now, I know that sounds really cliche, but trust me, we've seen this with literally thousands of deals, hundreds of our own and hundreds of our students, that this works every single time. You just build a relationship, okay? So all we do is we reach out, we inform them of the money that they're owed, and we say, hey, as a concerned friend, I'd like to help you. Is that okay? And instead of being a angry, pushy salesperson, the phone calls are a lot more happy and like, oh yeah, I appreciate you reaching out. I'd love to help you. Okay. And again, guys, people have followed this exact method and done a ton of deals. Okay. Here's Kiana, who had never done any sales experience before, and literally on her 6th or 7th phone call, boom, got her first deal. Okay. Here's Russell. Again, no sales experience, no phone call experience, nothing like that before. Okay. Talked to 4 people on the phone, and they all said yes and worked with him, okay? And here's Stephanie, who's an absolutely crazy story, okay? She had never even done anything remotely close to sales, never done even customer support, nothing like that on the phone, had always been like an IT person kind of behind the scenes, and with no sales experience at all, within 15 days, she got a deal worth $500,000, okay? And just to prove to you guys that I'm not making this up, okay, here's a quick video of her sharing her story.
If they can do it and they're just plain people, let me see if I can do it. And I said, I don't have like no great personality. I'm not a talker. So I said, let's just try it. This is new. Cold calling is new. Yeah. So I was really shocked, if you ask me.
Now, what were you shocked about, I guess is my, just about
because,
the process?
Somebody said yeah to me. I mean, do that sound stupid to you, Dave? Spencer, does that sound stupid?
Is that pretty amazing or what? For someone that's never even been on the phone or done anything like this before, literally go out and get her first deal that's that big of a deal is absolutely amazing. So give me a 2 if you guys think that's pretty awesome too. Awesome, guys. A ton of 2s coming in. So guys, it really is that simple, right? Step number 1 is to go out and get the leads, right? How do we do that? Well, we search on Google for your name plus unclaimed property, okay? Step number 2 is we locate them. We get their contact information. And step number 3 is we call them. It's really that simple, guys. And we ask them to assist recovery, okay? So that's key number 1. Now, key number 2 is how you can land your first highly profitable Robinhood client in 24 hours and then land 4 to 5 more over the next 4 weeks. Okay, so it's really, really simple. I'm actually going to break down a day-by-day, week-by-week process you guys can follow to get your first client and then get your first couple clients. So give me a 2 if you guys are excited to hear about this. Awesome, a ton of time. Guys, I'm loving the participation. Make sure you guys are keeping that up, okay? So let's start with week 1, day 1, okay? So week 1, day 1, what we're going to do is we're going to follow step number 1. Okay, we're going to download those leads, 100, 200 leads, whatever we can, 1 million leads, right? Whatever we have access to, okay? Step number 2, okay, is we're going to use a skip trace site to locate those leads, to make sure we have, good phone numbers and good contact information for those 100, 200 people that we're going to be calling over the next 30 days, okay? And that's the beautiful thing about this, guys, is that even though you have access to 1 million leads, I know it's a little overwhelming. You don't need 1 million leads. You only need like 200, okay? 100, 200 per month, and you're golden, okay? So week 1, day 1 is all about just getting those leads, skip tracing those leads, and putting all these numbers and phone numbers together so we can actually call those people, okay? And if you have extra time on day 1, then you can go ahead and skip and start doing the day 2 activities I'll talk about in a second here, okay, on day 1, okay? But again, day 1 is all about step number 1, which is finding those people who are owed money, okay? And again, how do we do that? We search your state plus unclaimed property. And then with step number 2, we need to locate those people. And how do we do that? We use a skip trace site. And that's day number 1, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. So then week 1, day 2, okay, or again, you can do this on day 1 if you have extra time, okay? But our goal is to contact 10 of the leads, just 10. We don't need to do 100, we don't need to do 1,000, just 10 people, okay? And if they don't answer, we want to send them an email, we want to drop a voicemail, of course, we want to send them a text, and just say, hey, my name is, Spencer, I want to reach out to you in regards to, this money that you're owed. Were you aware of this? I'd love to hop on a quick phone call, okay? And again, we're looking to ask them to assist, okay? It's really, really that simple. We're not looking to sell anything. We're not looking to be a pushy salesperson. It's really not a complicated conversation. That's why I even mentioned before coming as a concerned friend. You're just a concerned friend that saw this, that, wants to help. And maybe you don't actually know these people, but I truly believe everyone, maybe not everyone, but 99% of people out there, they're friendly, happy people. And if you come to them with that